Welcome back to another episode of the Scrubbed In series. I'm your host, Tarek Resat, your friendly neighborhood surgeon. Today, we're diving into a conversation that reminds us all that even in the face of life's toughest challenges, the human spirit has the power to transform adversity into purpose. My guest is Mr. Salih Hendricks, a global diabetes advocate who, after living with diabetes for 40 years and its complication, has become a beacon of hope and resilience for people around the world. This is not just a story about surviving. This is a story about using what some might call a weakness as a source of strength and inspiring countless others to rise above their own battles. Mr. Salih, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Tariq. And I'm very honored to be on your show. And I'm actually ready to share my story, and being a diabetic and amputee and surviving a stroke. And so you can go ahead with any questions you want to, and I'll try to answer them as truthful as I can.
Love it. This is your stage to share your story and so that we learn from it. And this is actually our first episode where we host an international guest. So this is a very special episode for us. So thanks for being there.
Beautiful. Thanks. I'm really honored, Tariq. I feel, it is not every day that I get an email, so that I can actually come on to a podcast. But thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Really, really.
Absolutely. Pleasure is ours. Now, your inspiring journey of being an advocate for patients who are diabetics, patients who suffer from complications of diabetes, starts way before all of this. Back, I think it has its roots in your childhood and your early days of dealing with diabetes.
Yeah, it does. It goes back. I'm now 58 years old. And in 1982, my journey actually started then. And I was actually diagnosed with diabetes insipidus. And that is actually when your pituitary gland and, where you can't actually control urination. If you drink a glass of water, you can actually pee in your pants, immediately. And it was actually embarrassing, and but the doctors actually got it under control. And the nicest part is that my mother actually, when we got home, and she said that the doctor said you can actually grow out of it, and at the age of 12, you are not prepared for a disease, or even younger, and
Definitely not.
You don't know what is actually hitting you, and but what actually prepared me for news like this, that I come from a diabetic family. My mother, my father, my sister, my brother, grandparents, all diabetics. And that actually cushioned, the blow, when the only thing that I couldn't understand is at 12 years old was the difference between diabetes insipidus, diabetes mellitus, type 1, type 2. So it was something that I just took on. This is my new normal. That's all, And it was something that I went through 4 years of it. And at 17, I just started college, and I was on my way, to the lecture theater, and I blanked out completely. And
Wow.
That's when it started in a way. I woke up, you can say, a day and a half later. And the same specialist, because he's a kidney specialist and diabetes specialist, he actually told me, you are now a type 1. And I told him, please, I'm slightly older, explain to me. And he actually gave me a lesson that I will never forget. Education of diabetes I will never forget. And that's how I actually started my journey, with a lot of anticipation of how do I treat myself, how do I actually medicate myself, and but he guided me. He guided me, and being a type one, I mean, I knew that I had to look after myself, and this was actually something that I had to actually accept. I accepted it, and but when I came to the age of 20, 21, 22, I went into a bit of a denial, you know, and that really, my body took a blow because I was in denial for around about, you can say, 4 to, yeah, but let's say 4 years, 4 years, yeah. And
Wow.
what happened in my body then, I still don't know. Sorry, I didn't know then, but I know now because what my body went through was a transformation of complications that I didn't know. Um, my veins burst behind my eyes um, at just before I actually got married, and this was something that really hit me because the blankness that actually hits you, you can't see, and you think you're losing your sight. And I had laser up and everything. They saved both my eyes, and today I can still see, you know. But the complications that actually came from that denial stage or period was something that I understand now how diabetes actually affects you, what it does to your organs, to your arteries, your veins. So it is something that the new normal became another new normal. So it set me back in many ways of why didn't I look after myself, you know?
Before.
And
Yeah.
to answer your question, you know, how did I actually get involved in the advocacy side? That actually came with attending the hospital because at that time I was actually under the public sector and I had to actually use basic medicine, you know. My blood sugars were tested every 3 months. I had this yellow urine strip, that you test your pee, and if you see it, if you see it's avocado green, excuse me, then you know that your sugars are high, you know. And I started looking after myself religiously, you know, and it just took me to the steps where I became a model patient. And that's when I started speaking in front of other diabetics on how to actually cope, what to eat, and
Share your journey.
and then I started sharing my journey, and that's how you can say in my 20s, late 20s, when I started advocating to other patients, and the journey wasn't easy. It wasn't easy because at 12 you're just going into puberty. Your hormones are hitting every wall that you can see, and then you're going into your teenage life. You know, um, finishing high school, um, going to college, and you see how the other um, peers,
Kids are
yeah,
doing.
that's right, and you don't want to live that life, and that's why I went into denial.
Right.
So I hope that actually answered your question on how I actually got interested, in um, the advocacy side of things.
This is very inspiring in a way, because you, since young age, had to deal with conditions that are not there for a day or two or a week or a month, but they are there for years, and that is where you are shaping who you are, your mentality, your look towards the future, and these conditions affecting you at that young age must have really impacted you on every single aspect of your life.
Yes, it did. It impacted me in such a way. You know, if I just must tell you this little story. And when I was you can say primary school, okay, and there was two Salies, myself and another Sali, in in the same standard, same class. And the children, to distinguish between the two Salies, I was a little bit chubby, and they called me Fat Sali, you know. And I didn't actually know what the meaning of stigma is, and you know, it was something that I accepted because I know if they spoke about Fat Sali, that was me, and just Sali, I knew it was the other one. And this is something that actually it stayed with me. You know, it was something that going into diabetes and being stigmatized with a family, oh, you didn't look after yourself, and look what you got now. It is something that always plays like a little stuck record, on I understand stigma now. I understand name calling. I understand the branding that goes with diabetes. So going into the hospital and seeing all these diabetics in front of me, and being a type 1 and living with type 2s, I survived. But there was something bigger. I realized that I wasn't alone, because that is something that can really eat on you if you isolate yourself. If there's sports to be played, you step, you step a few steps back. So you don't actually want to participate in anything, and you lead a lonely life. And but if I every third month, if I was to go, to hospital, I was actually excited because I was going to share what I did for the last 3 months. And here I am again, showing up, being present in that moment, So
Yeah.
it is something that it's, it's, it's manageable, but there is certain people that don't know how to cope. And this is where I actually started a lot of my advocacy work.
Advocacy
That's
work.
that's where I actually started. But it really started in a way about 5 years back. That's how it started.
5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago, when I came back from Morocco from a holiday, and at the hotel I actually trod into something, but I didn't actually um, pay attention to it. A little bit of blood, put a plaster on, and that is it. But being a diabetic, and at that moment, you don't think about anything else. You're checking your sugars, you're looking after yourself, you're keeping everything in range. And but lo and behold, that little pinprick that I got was actually starting to fester into something that wasn't actually outside, because my wound was actually healing on the outside, but what was happening inside was another story, you know? And
Wow.
when I went to the hospital, and the doctor checked out and said, no, everything's okay. So I said, no, everything's not okay. This pain is unbearable. And she said, hold on, let me get a second opinion. But she actually called a surgeon in to come and see and to feel, if there is anything that she's missing. And looking at my foot, doing a few probes and checking everything, he said, "Can you come with me immediately to my surgery?" And I went, I followed, limping, and I saw this machinery in front of me. He said, "We're going to check your blood flow. We're going to check if there's any blockages, and we're going to do a ultrasound scan." And that's when we found out that there is so many things that was going wrong in my leg. And that was the day that we found out that I had peripheral arterial as well. Not knowing that the years before, when I walked from parking area to my office, I used to stop about 3 to 4 times. I used to rest. There it goes. I can move on again, you know. And
You're having
there
claudication.
we go, you know. And these are all terminology that I didn't understand, I didn't understand it. And it is wonderful on how if you start educating yourself. I mean, if they used to speak, I used to memorize words and go back and Google it, and think to myself, wow, this was happening in my body. And that was another inclusion of why I actually went into diabetes advocacy is to, because what I went through, I don't want the next person to go through without the knowledge which I've gained,
Right. I mean, as a surgeon myself, I deal with a lot of diabetic patients, but the perspective that you're sharing and the experiences that you share from the other side of the management as the patient, it's way different than what we have in our minds as physicians.
Okay.
And in our heads, unfortunately, we have it in a very simplified way. Yeah, you're having diabetes. Please take care of your glucose or your sugar at home, sir. Try to eat healthy. Try to work out. And that's all what we think about that the patients go through. But the way that you are explaining it and describing it sounds way more challenging to the patient on a daily level. Definitely affects the way that you look towards your life.
Tariq, you're saying the way you look to your life. Now that I actually understand certain scenarios of global north, global south, what is the basic medicines which is allowed by government, and what the global north actually gets, and how you actually long for those things. And it is something that resonates in a way that I always use the slogan, or my slogan now: I see you, I understand you, I walk this path with you too. So every
Yeah.
um, Instagram post or link post or Facebook post, I will always use that slogan so that they can see that they are not alone. And the journey didn't actually just take me into advocacy. It took me into traveling the world, going to ADA, USA last year, EASD in Europe. I've been on a platform to actually, share my story. But
Wow.
for me, it was actually a blessing because with this diabetes, I'd have never met people like yourself and many more. You know,
Right.
my
Right.
amputation has taken me in a way um, beyond my boundaries and borders because it is not just the way that you actually share things, but it's the way that if you deliver something and then somebody participates or they give feedback, that's what I actually enjoy. Even if it's one person that gets back to me with a thank you for sharing, and then I will say, thank you for uh, the feedback or something, and that's how we start communicating. And the isolation that that person was in becomes his story, and then he starts or she starts sharing the story. And to tell you the truth, Tariq, it becomes like a therapy session. Every time when I speak about it, every time when I speak about my difficulties, um, I actually speak to the person, find out exactly what is your background, what is your culture, where do you live, global north, global south, you know, and it was just, speaking to um, the surgeon. There was just something that resonated in me on understanding that I had peripheral arterial disease. My veins are clogged up, and so understanding what was actually happening to me. That was February 2020 when I went to Morocco
So
and I
all
came
that
back.
happened while you were in Morocco.
No, that the stepping into the nail that actually happened in Morocco. But when
Okay.
coming home, the process of going through all the pain, the checkups, knowing what I actually have, and the surgeon actually telling me that because of my right leg having four blockages, they're actually going to do a revascularization.
Yeah.
I can never get that word right. Yeah, the bypass.
What was going in your mind when you heard that from the surgeon that you might you have your leg at risk?
You know, this happened now 5 years back. With all the advocacy work that I actually did, Tariq, I knew that I can go blind, I can lose a limb. I mean, my story started with the kidneys not functioning properly. And what actually went through my mind at that time was, am I really going to lose something here? And the surgeon actually, Dr. Nathan, spoke to me and he said, we're going to try our best to
Okay.
save your leg. And I told him, thank you. He put me at ease. It's just a beautiful way of let us do the bypass. He wanted to actually take one of my veins out of my left leg and put it into the right leg. And he realized at that morning before the operation, how is he going to recover with being or not using one of the other legs? And he just said, let's use a synthetic vein. I'm not using the right terms,
A
but then they
graft.
used another vein. They grafting, and they put it in, and everything was successful. No pain. My foot was actually healing beautifully because now there's blood flow. You know. And 3 weeks later, Tariq, my body started clogging up the vein in such a rate that they said that now we have to do a second operation and put in stents.
And that was devastating.
Yeah. So that was in August 2020. I September, end of September, I had the stents put in, and miraculously, after a month with the stents and everything was starting to heal up nicely. My body rejected the stents as well.
Wow.
I didn't understand. I did not understand what was going on. I said, if you put in something, how can my body reject it? So he said, we are too scared to sometimes tell the patient, you know. And October the 20th, 2020, when my foot was blue, the bone was infected. He told me that we've tried everything to get blood flow down to the bottom of your leg. And they wanted to amputate, they wanted to amputate below the knee. And I asked him, Dr. Nathan, please be honest with me. And I asked him, can we do another scan? Can we do another Doppler to see where my blood flow is? Where's the best in my leg? And when they did the test and he came back and he said, everything above your knee is beautiful. So I told him, Dr. Nathan, this Tariq was without hesitation. I told him, Dr. Nathan, please amputate me above my knee. I don't want to come back. I don't want to have more complications, you know. So they did the amputation, and in the week from my amputation, my scars healed up. They stapled everything, and the flesh was starting to grow over the staples. That's how fast my healing was going, because the doctors were controlling my sugar levels.
You have good blood flow as well.
So that I can heal faster, you know. And I don't regret the amputation above my knee. And it is now, this year, October, it's exactly 5 years, you know. And, you know, the other stories that comes out is the mortality rate after the amputation and everything, you know.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, let me research on why. That's also where my advocacy actually went into, you know. You find the people, once if they have the amputation,
Correct.
they give up. They
But
give
you
up on
didn't.
life. So I didn't give up. My mindset was stronger. I wanted to share my story as an amputee, a diabetic. Life goes on. Sorry, life goes on.
What did you use, or what did you think of? Because this is a very dramatic life transformation and change, and many people would give up in your circumstances after all those years of what they went through, from diabetes since young age, its complications, the hospitalizations. Many people would choose just to give up on life. How did you stay strong? Because this is not a story about how to fight diabetes, but it also, you can draw parallels for resilience in any other, aspect or matter of life, for anyone who is in a dark spot in his life dealing with something.
Now, Tariq, if I must tell you, my resilience, my strength actually came from my faith. And I believed in a way that there is a reason why I'm actually going through this, not as a punishment or anything, you know. But my first trip to Sweden was with the European Study for the Association of Diabetes, the EASD, and there I delivered my talk on my journey. And letting all of those doctors, because it was just the doctors on the one side and the diabetics on the other side of that entire wall of people that was there. And when I left, the doctors and surgeons actually started speaking with me, the diabetic specialists, the endocrinologists, and things on how can they deliver this to their patients with the lived experience. And I told them, all of them, I don't have much time here at the conference to actually speak to all of you, but I will continue this conversation when I get back. And I kept in contact with all of them, you know, like Dr. Armstrong, Dr. Ruben, um, a lot of the United States doctors that I actually met there, you know, in Sweden. And that's how I built my knowledge base up and understanding with what they do. how you actually go into prevention. Um, how do you actually speak to somebody, that that's actually going through the first stages of losing their limb? And it's not easy. It's
Definitely
not
not. No.
easy at all. It is something that, no, I mean, Tariq, I cried for one full solid year, every night. I mean, I went through emotional trauma, and if you look at yourself, uh, the, 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 the stigma thoughts, how is people going to accept me, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? But I had to build up that mindset to become resilient and independent again. I had to do things for myself. I went for the prosthetic leg. Um, it was back into the gym. It was my life is going on. It's I'm here for a purpose to spread this knowledge which I'm gaining so that somebody else can go through a little bit of ease, less suffering. You know, I mean, it is something that I will, with my peer support that I do. Somebody will, like I say, knock on my door, and I see the message either in Instagram, Facebook, or link. Um, there's just a word, please help me. And you think to yourself, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm just a diabetic amputee.
Interesting.
I've got no medical
Yeah.
history behind me, you know? And because then the people will come, I don't want to live, I want to take my life. Tariq, you have to sit with people on a daily basis that want to take their lives because they can't go through it. Then I will tell them my story. I will keep on with my story. I will share it to a point where, um, they might be getting boring of all the repeats that but I want to save their life. I want them to live. And the success stories of my journey, saving people's lives, Tariq, is the most fruitful thing out of this journey.
I like how you said earlier that your journey has took you beyond any boundaries and borders of your condition. And what do you feel has been the most inspiring success story with someone that you've shared your journey with, and how you transformed their life?
It was a lady in Johannesburg. I live in Cape Town. She lives in Johannesburg, and she followed me on Facebook. And I went over to Lisbon that year, and it was also in September. As I opened up my email in Lisbon, I saw a call for help. I cannot live like this. And my reply was, I'm coming back in the next 5 days and we can chat. But in that 5 days, she tried to overdose with insulin to take her life. And she's got a history of mental health. She's on medication and she's a diabetic. And it's a year later. And every time I ask her, do you still want to take your life? So she said, you've given me purpose. I want to share my story and I
Wow.
want to live. That that blew me,
You saved a life.
like the fireworks had to, yeah, you know, if you think that that little fireworks that go off in your head, if somebody knocks you, you see stars. It was something similar. Last year, when a lady phoned me, she's not diabetic. She said, I'm losing my limb, Salih. I've been following you to see how you cope with it. And I said, oh, thank you very much. And she said, I'm going into the theaters in the next few hours. And I thought to myself, I don't know how to encourage this person. I don't know what words to leave with her before she goes into surgery. And I just told her, don't give up. 2, 3 days later, okay, she was recovering nicely, and she was crying on the phone. And she said, "Can I pray to God to grow my limb back?" Tariq, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know. I was knocked speechless. Then she said, "Oh, I can go to Asia, and they can actually do something, and my limb will grow back." So I said to her, acceptance, number one. There is prosthetic legs, number two. And I had to ask her, "Have you got a family?" So I said, "Do you want to take your life and leave your husband and your 2 children behind?" So I said, "Isn't that going to punish them for the rest of their life on what you want to do?" I don't know where the words came from, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
And I left it at that, and I kept on phoning just to give encouragement and everything. But last month, last month, she phoned me in a hysterical way. "Oh, I've got my prosthetic leg. I can walk again. Life is good," you know? And I thought to myself, can I play back? If I say play back, then I say, can we discuss what you went through, how you went through it, how I helped you in a way of encouraging you not to give up? And she said, "Please, Salih, let's go through that again, because I want to do the same what you're doing." And when people say that, then it feels like my body goes into a lively spasm of happiness, that they want to do the same to save somebody else.
Now, you mentioned that it's important to accept what you're going through as a first step, to kind of shift and reframe your mindset from, being defeated, hopeless and helpless, to becoming someone who, as you're describing, feeling that excitement of, being able to save that life and, transitioning, your world. What do you think is the thing that keeps these people, or gives them the encouragement to have that dramatic switch, from nothing to stay connected with this life, with this world, with their loved ones?
For me, it's actually a difficult question to answer. But if you, as a diabetic, know that you are not alone on this journey, if I take it, if you're an amputee and you're not alone, seeing people leave this world, people that's in your peer support group that had many other complications, people that had diabetes with heart disease, um, amputations, hypertension, kidney problems, heart problems. They got everything bundled up in one. So for me, I will say it is very difficult to answer that question holistically. But if people approach me like in a way of, "Sally, can you help?" Then I say, I don't help people. I encourage you to seek help in a way in yourself. Because if you've got a positive mindset in a way of, you want to live, I'm going to get myself that prosthetic leg. I'm going to get myself that wheelchair. I'm going to get myself that crutches. It's an aid to help you. And if you get your independence back, Tariq, your whole mindset changes. So with that positivity, your sugar levels drop, your blood pressure drops, it goes back to normal. You are looking forward to the next day to do a task with your aid. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but it is difficult just to say it's A, B, C, and D, because there are so many things or factors that my knowledge of what affects sugar levels, the heat, the cold. If you've got arthritis and you continuously have pain, your sugar spikes up. Um, Sometimes you eat something on a Monday, but it only affects you on the Tuesday or the Wednesday. So Tuesday, everything is perfect. Suddenly, everything spikes on the Wednesday and Thursday. The moods. So if I speak to ladies as well, uh, that also my peer group, and I tell them, you know, right, I know your age, you're going through menopause, you're going through this, you're going through that. That's all going to affect. If I speak to the teenager girls, I don't know why they trust me, Tariq, but if I speak openly and truthfully about my journey in a way of, am I helping you? Because if you're getting your period today, or 2 weeks before the time, or afterwards, your sugar level goes up and down. So your doctor cannot say, why aren't you eating properly? It's your body changes that spikes your sugar, lowers your sugar. I mean, my stroke that I had was caused by hypos. It was caused by hypos in a way that I didn't know what was happening when my body goes in a low sugar shock. I didn't know that my blood starts clotting. I didn't know that my veins and arteries are starting to constrict and causing my blood pressure to go up. So these are all factors which, along the way of advocacy, all of this has actually become knowledge, education, and has become a sharing tool so that a diabetic can understand what is happening in their body.
I love how you took this uh, a duty on yourself to educate yourself more and more about diabetes rather than just passively get the information from your doctor, because the level of knowledge, insights, definitely your experiences have played a big role in it, but also you actively took it on yourself to learn more about diabetes, and I think that helped you in a great way on how to navigate the traumas of diabetes, how to speak the language of diabetes to others in a way.
Now, I like the way that you actually use the word navigate. And somebody, also a diabetic educator, and she was using manage, and you must manage your diabetes, you must control your diabetes, you know. And something just popped up on, this is a direction for a better life with diabetes. So this is navigating, And then I told her, why don't we use the word navigate? And I like the way you actually use it. And for example, I will never tell somebody eat healthy food, because if if it affects you by culture or socioeconomic situations, I can't go and tell you you have to eat that veggie, and it might cost them $6 a packet, and they can't actually afford it. So I will tell them in a nicer way on, eat what you can afford in moderate portions. You eat nicely. Uh, if your mother makes the curries, the fatty foods, or whatever, and that is the only things that she can cook, you know. So holistically, in a way of, my approach is just different to global south and global north. um, your approach to people with empathy so that you don't hurt their feelings. I mean, like this lady that wanted to commit suicide, they changed her medication. And I just told her, please take the medication because it will better your situation with your sugar levels. She took it in a way of, she was hurt the way that I actually said it. She was hurt in the way that I actually asked her to do it. And she didn't speak to me for almost a month, but she built up courage to tell me. So, as a peer supporter, I have to mind my language as well. And if I speak to my doctors and physicians and my eye specialists and things, I will always tell them, think before you speak to me, so that I don't get hurt. So language matters, stigmatization matters. It all affects us. So the lived experience, and we had a conference here in Cape Town where it was HCPs and diabetics lived experience where we came together and we actually had a brainstorm, on how can we better the language between patient and HCP. And it was wonderful on how the emotions actually came out, on why we actually pull back, why we isolate ourselves, and how we can actually carry ourselves forward. Because some patients actually, oh, I don't want to go to the doctor today because he's going to scold at me. Then that person will miss the appointment. Oh, I haven't looked after myself. My sugar levels are high. Um, I've got infections in my gut again, and it's not healing up properly because of the sugar levels. I told one person that just came out of surgery, and I said, what my doctors did to me, they kept my sugar levels low, but not low that I'm in danger. They monitored me all the time. But in that week that they did that, my gut healed up so quickly. So I just told this person, don't eat carbs because if it pushes your sugar up, I said, just try and eat less carb, or I said no carbs for 2 weeks. And this was a type 2. And his scars and his cut healed up so quickly. Even the infection was gone. So it is by trial and error that I did it to myself. I know how it works. And if I give advice and I will tell them it worked for me, I don't know if it's going to work for you. And I said, I'm not a doctor. You can speak to your doctor, but this is what worked for me, you know. And I will always put that disclaimer either in words or in writing, and just to protect myself, you know. But Tariq, my journey was a blessing for myself, and my purpose to be here is to actually share everything that I've gone through so that the life that the other person or the struggles the other person goes through has a lesser blow on what's actually going to hit them next for the new normal. The new normal.
I like how you always described your battle with diabetes as the new normal. You didn't call it, "Oh, I have to adapt to this, different lifestyle," but you're kind of embracing it in a way, and I think that's essential so that you live in peace with your life and how to keep giving and be, the best version of yourself, no matter what the challenges you're facing.
Yeah. Now, just on that, it's also my belief system on um, when you go out there, it is different cultures that you actually approach. And in South Africa, um, my community that I actually work in is 90% black. Okay. And they live with a cultural way of living. They will first see the herbal specialist. If he says it's okay, you can go. Go to the medical doctor. You know. Um, so, like I said, the cultural side of it, the socio-economic side of it. Um, if the people that has technology, or a cell phone, and they look up and they see on Facebook or on just Google something, and they see all the new technology. So you have this burden of the people in the global south that don't have technology getting anxiety on, look how they prospering with their health. Why can't we have it? And I will tell them, don't long what is not there and you cannot get. Let's see how we can embrace our diabetes care with basic medicines and basic technology. If we have one little glucose monitor and our 50 strips and we get our insulin, let us be satisfied with that. Because I know, because I experienced this with the global north people. They get technology anxiety. If uh, the sensor falls off, the satellite switches off, Dexcom doesn't work, Omnipod doesn't work, but they forgetting,
Chaos.
yeah, chaos, because they don't know how to go back to MDI, or go back to basics. Like I laughed at one of the conferences where this young lady actually spoke to me and she said, "Oh, the olden times when they used to prick themselves." So I said, "Can I hug you? Can I hug you? Because you just said olden times." But I said there's people in Africa that are still on the olden times. So how do you differentiate, on olden times and what you've got now with a pump and a sensor and the Dexcom Omnipod and so I just said that was so classic, and I actually hugged her, and I said it is just beautiful on the way you said olden times, you know, and it was classic. But back here in Africa, South Africa, it is something that I will always tell them blanket out and let's get our health in order with what we've got, and that is the basics. I said for 12 years, I had to, my body was the CGM. Like I still do it at times, Tariq. I will, oh, my sugar still feels like it's high. Then I will already sense it. Oh, it's about 13, 14 mmol. Let me check my sugars. Then I may be out by 1 or 2 units, you know.
Yeah.
So I try to train them in a way on knowing your symptoms, knowing what is going on in your body, and then applying it with technology. So there's just things that a lot of people has to accept. And I just said that we all go through technology anxiety. We go through technology depression where, oh, the pump is waking me up or the bleeper is going off, I can't sleep and things. And when we actually speak the diabetics about the naked body, then that means that we don't have one sensor, one pump, a tube, uh, anything of technology around us. So if we say we're having a naked shower, or they say we
No
enjoy,
devices.
yeah, or they say we're enjoying the nakedness, it means that there is
Yeah.
nothing attached to us, Yeah.
That's an interesting point that you're mentioning because I don't think, non-diabetics think of that. The technology anxiety, the ability to shower without, tubes and pumps around you. And definitely that is something that, takes a space in your mind. And it's a thing that, even the physicians, I don't think they are aware of.
I mean, like, for example, you know, some of the patches that you get from Libra, from Freestyle, um, it's 2 weeks that you've got it on your arm. Okay. Um, you go to gym, morning, you go to work, you shower, and sometimes it just falls off, you know? So then you think to yourself, are they going to reimburse me? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Now you phone the help desk. And the first question that they ask, did you secure it? There is on the labeling that, the adhesive might not stick well because of certain skins. I mean, I found out that,
Hmm.
because I'm quite hairy, it doesn't stick well. So what I do is I shave before I put on that sensor, you know? So these are all things that if I speak to the global north people on, don't panic. I say shave it. Shave on your tummy, take that hairs away. Make that space clear so that it can actually, that adhesive can stick, you know? And I mean, I had a friend of mine where she found me and said, Sally, the technology is not working and things. I said, have you got your backup glucose monitor? Yes. So I said, do you know how to use it? She said, yes. I said, use it, you know? And she just said, oh, yes. So I said, put the phone down and stop panicking. You'll get your reading, you know? And she phoned me about half an hour later, and everything was normal again. So I said, we mustn't forget about the basics. Mustn't. In medicines, I mean, if I speak, I mean, I speak openly where just so that that patient or that person that needs the support can feel comfortable, you know, in moving on with the new normal.
I love how you're so uh, fully knowledgeable, fully aware, oriented about every single thing of diabetes, from what it can do to you to as tiniest details of the tubes and stuff on all the monitors and the devices. I mean, definitely your knowledge, your experiences are valuable. And I think a lot of that is a thing that physicians or doctors dealing or with diabetes, managing diabetes, should be kind of handling that part of the conversation with the patient or the management. But I don't think we are as aware of all those details, the minor ones and the big ones, like the way you describe them in a very simple way. What do you feel, or what do you think that physicians need to learn from you and from all the other diabetics on how can we do a better job?
That's actually a beautiful question because our advocacy that we do around the world and in our home countries are exactly that, where we actually go out on our platforms and when we share things with the HCPs, be it a nurse, doctor, specialist, and in the field of diabetes, language matters the most. It's,
Definitely.
sometimes, I mean, I went with one of my peers. I mean, she was actually scared of the doctor, you know, and the doctor actually asked, I have to see her. So I said she wants me to be with her, and just seeing the way that he operates with her in that way of blaming her and everything, and I kept quiet so that because I was just observing, you know, and when we left the rooms of the doctor, and I said to her, "You have to be open with your doctor. Tell him or tell her that I am not to blame for this." Now that's where a lot of the blame game goes on. Um, at the public hospitals, 15 minutes a session. They have to get people out of there, and they become frustrated if they see with the A1C results, oh my God, all the things were high for the last 3 months. Why? But they're not asking that person, how is your environment? How is the people speaking to you? How is your community at your church or your mosque or just going to the library treating you? That all affects a diabetic. But the language from the HCPs matters the most. And just on
I see.
the attitude, like why I actually went into research to broaden my knowledge, I ask questions and I will tell the doctor or specialist, don't hide things away from me. Tell me as it is, but I always,
The truth.
yeah, I always tell them not in medical terms, in layman's terms that I can understand, And
Something you can, yeah,
yeah, so
process.
so it is sometimes difficult for them when they just start rambling, because the medical terms come out, and then I was like, excuse me, hello, layman's terms, and
Right.
that's how I leave satisfied from the doctor's rooms with the truth.
I see.
And like with my amputation, all the surgeons, they were truthful with me. What's going to happen? There is you know, a lifespan situation. If you don't look after yourself, you can have a second amputation. You can lose your life. And I knew what I was actually going into with all of these complications: veins bursting, amputation, the stroke, when I had my lenses replaced. And it was just a whole holistic understanding of diabetes and holistic understanding in the way of I am a little bit knowledgeable now. How can I ask my HCP, my endocrinologist, my specialist, my eye doctor, my, kidney specialist, whatever? I can actually
The right
ask the right
questions.
questions. There we go. You know, but it is just that I can see sometimes. That's why I like to go early to the doctors. So there isn't patients that frustrated that doctor, you know, to the limits so that you get that punishment. And then understand, if I go there by, say, after one, and he comes in or she comes in and say, hello, Mr. Hendricks or something, but you can see that doctor is tired. Anything's going to spark her or him in a way of answering in a negative way. So I will actually refrain from questions because I will look at the doctor. You look very tired. You had a full day. And for me to come in there and aggravate you more, I might get answers or a tone that I might not like, you know?
I appreciate that. Yeah. You time your questions when the doctor is the most receptive
There we
time.
go. There we go. So I will make all my appointments in the early morning, even if I have to stand up so early, but I want to be number one or number two. And it's a pattern that I've seen from the public hospitals. And when I went onto medical insurance, exactly the same. But there's no difference. They all become tired. And if you have a doctor that has a double shift in a public hospital,
For
you
sure.
know, it is just check me, give my medication, I want to leave. I don't want any um, bad vibes, attitudes, or language from you. So, yes, language matters between patient and doctor.
I see. So there's a big emphasis on the style of the communication between the physician and his patient to develop that relationship of understanding together.
Definitely.
Now, who do you think is, or let me rephrase this, who do you think holds the responsibility, or it's whose duty to be more knowledgeable about the condition you are managing? Do you think it's the physician's job to teach the patient, or the patient has to kind of read about it?
That's the best question that you could have ever asked me now. Okay. And for me, if you're going to a general practitioner, um, the knowledge of diabetes might not be as a specialist, like an endocrinologist or I can never pronounce the words, but if you're a diabetic specialist, and like you're a surgeon, you will give me the best advice on Salih. We cannot save your leg. We're going to try our best. Um, it is not something that I'm trying to do this or trying to do that or siphon all your money out of you. But what we always bank on is if a doctor tells us you can go for a second opinion, relief sets in. Because it's like you don't want to leave your doctor because you already got that relationship. So to get to your question is, for me, I know now that there is limitations in each specialist, because if I go to a neurosurgeon uh, in, instead of a neurospecialist that will deal with um, what way forward now. You must go to your OT, you must do this exercises, that exercises. The neurosurgeon will operate on me, put in something in my spine to line it or whatever, rectify something. So I understand the terminology now, but that's where it comes in, is that the language barriers that is in South Africa, there is 12 languages that the people speak in South Africa. Trying to communicate with them in a language that they understand, it's impossible. For a person to translate into their language and it gets twisted in a wrong way, or a word gets used wrong, misinformation, misunderstanding, and misdiagnosis happen. You know, so it is something that, for the right doctor to actually be in that path of that patient, patient must actually seek more knowledge. They must read upon it. Not only, oh, the doctor must tell me what to do. Oh, the doctor must give me this. Oh, the doctor must educate me. Oh, the nurse has to educate me. No, for me, that is wrong. You, as the patient, have to gain knowledge. You, the patient, have to look after yourself so that you can become better, because you got a responsibility. You got a trust to
True.
look after that body. Not just, okay, Dr. Tariq, tell me this. Finish. No. Let's do some research. Now, this is what I actually put on my platform. This is what I actually do as a peer supporter. And I try to, with all the knowledge that I've gained, I try to lessen the blow in the language barriers into the lowest form of understanding and the simplest format in the way that patient understands things, so that they go away with a smile on their face. And I know how to eat, I know how to take my medication, I know that I have to look after this body.
I appreciate how you said that the individual or the patient has to be active participant in the treatment journey. It's not just he's passive, he's just getting the meds or getting the knowledge from the doctor, but he has to do his own responsibility and part of the journey as well. What is next in your journey of reach out and advocacy, uh, in your journey of advocacy and reaching out to diabetics? What next do you have planned?
Plans now is not just to take this advocacy to the next level, but to participate with governments, with policy implementation. If I may use the term, if we're looking for justice in a way of, we want treatment that will help us to live our best life. And like, I know, I mean, with all the new types of medication that comes on board, the side effects that cause this and that and whatever, and there is many things that, or obstacles that can actually hinder a patient in many ways. But to move forward in a way of advocacy, um, and beyond advocacy, is trying to look for the most justified way for people or humanity to live in dignity, to live with equality, and most important is to live with inclusion. Inclusion in the
I
sense
love
of,
that.
yeah, inclusion in the sense of I am part and parcel of my doctor and I. We are talking. So that doctor is actually including that patient in every activity, in every way forward for a better life, better health, you know? So it is something that, like I said, I mean, it's a two-way street. It is something that I can't blame my doctor. That is one thing that I've always taken. Like, why did you amputate my leg? Why are you giving me that tablet? And I will always ask the doctors, you're giving me that tablet, what is it doing? I don't just take, you know, oh, Sali, it's for that, it's for that, it's for that. Oh, you had an operation, oh, you must take blood thinners now. I mean, I had to go on a course on how to actually use one of the, I can't remember the name, but I had to learn on don't bump yourself because you can bleed internally. Do this, sit like this. Your OT will show you how, you know. And I thought to myself, doctor, isn't there another tablet? you know? So he said, yes, there is. So I said, give me the other one. Don't give me that one because it's going to kill me in a way of I'm going to sit whole day. I'll be too scared to go to the toilet, put a catheter in me and leave me there. And it is something that I always ask questions. But to live a life with diabetes, sorry, it's not easy. It's not easy. It affects your mental health, your it affects everything. Your whole being, it affects only if you don't have a good mindset.
I mean, today I've learned and discovered many things about diabetes, and from a patient perspective, which is important to know and to be aware of. Because for me, in my head, yeah, I can ask my patient, yeah, please take care of your blood sugar. Yeah, please be better at it. Try to be more strict in your diet. Things sound as simple as that to me, but it never came to me to think about the mental trauma or the daily time they need to put aside to check their finger sticks or to make sure that their sensors and monitors are working or they have their medications available. So there's a lot of things to learn from you, of course, and from all the diabetics patients. And I think it's important for us as physicians uh, to open up, our minds, our ears to learn, not to just take, feedback from the patients, but to learn from them, to learn from their daily experiences, because that will shape how we can provide better care for our patients, which is the thing that we strive and work for every day.
I mean, last year I was at ADA, that was in Orlando, Florida, and just going down the hallways and things, and I was looking for all the topics on when are they going to speak about complications, diabetes complications, and everything. And
Right.
lo and behold, when I wheeled myself because they hired me a scooter, because of my amputation, and I just thought to myself, where is, and I looked on the pamphlets and things, when are they going to speak about that? No, it's not there. And on the post boards, when I scooted around and I thought to myself, look where all of these complications are hidden away on the post boards of delivered by this one, delivered by that one, delivered by this one in research, and but never in the open. And what I learned was when I left ADA, I went to PASD in Spain, yeah. And being there is from USA to Europe, you know, and exactly the same. And speaking to the chairperson, of PASD, and I said, why are we hiding the complications away? Why? So she said, people are not ready. I said, we have to make them ready. Now at this stage,
Agree.
who ADA, the International Diabetes Federation, they're all coming out now because they're listening to us. All those physicians, all those HCPs from around the world now is actually embracing the lived experience with diabetes. We did a paper together. The doctors actually asked us questions, which we had to answer at EASD. We actually delivered um, in the symposium. My article went into the EASD medical journal, and people were jealous over that because I just wrote about um, the people in the global south, that there is no access to this, no access to that, they don't have access. This is the basics that they got, and that's their survival, you know. So it was an honor for me to actually participate all around the world in these conferences, delivering presentations, and today speaking with you and actually listening to the questions which you asked, and which I will say the reliefness that you actually that you're getting as a physician. You know, um, I mean, I actually admire you, Tari. You know, because there's not a lot of the HCPs that want to participate, that wants to bring in the lived experience into the world of medicine. But it is us that is living with this condition. With your advice, we go back home and we start medicating ourselves, injecting ourselves, doing our data collection of our glucose readings. What is this? How it is after sport? Um, what do we do if we just? I mean, after my stroke, I mean, I couldn't do much exercises, and I picked up weight, and I knew why I'm picking up weight, you know, and I'm starting to lose it now because I couldn't move this right side with my stump. If I tried to pick up something, it fell out of my hand, you know. So the beautiful thing is that I've trained myself now. Like before, I went on Hajj and I went for a checkup, and the doctor just said, "You at now at almost 85, between 85 and 90% your recovery for this year now, you know." So I said, beautiful, you know. But then she said, if you don't progress, that will be your new 100%. So I said, I've accepted my new normal. I will accept my new 100%.
And another new normal.
Another new normal. And it is the acceptance of having this condition and actually, like I will say, take it like a man, you know, if you're going blind, take it like a man if you're having kidney problems, you know. And but like my kidney functions was at 35%. It went up a little bit, it came down again. The beginning of 2025, when I went for my 6 monthly checkup, which is almost due again now, and my kidneys was at 93%, just because of how I'm actually taking care of myself. So, I mean, that was the first thing when the doctor phoned me, you know, with the feedback. And he said, I don't care about any of your other results. Your kidneys are 93%.
Your kidneys
So 93%.
better. Wow.
And I said, is this the reason why I'm having all this energy and things? And, you know, and it is just wonderful on how our organs all work or gel together for the functioning of the brain, the arteries, you know, the blood flow and everything. It is beautiful. And I never liked biology, Tariq. I never liked biology on school. But today, it is one of my,
You're an expert now.
you know, I look up to it, you know, in a way of, I understand now, okay, fine, you know, my brain needs that, and my kidneys need that, and, you know, but it is something that this is what I'm actually sharing as a diabetic advocate with lived experience to the next diabetic so that they can understand better. That is my whole purpose, my whole aim, my objectives. It just all gel together on why, the purpose.
Mr. Saleh, I admire you. I admire your courage, your resilience, your strong mindset that I think every one of us can learn from it in a way. You don't have to be a diabetic to learn from your story, how you overcame and navigated all the challenges that you faced, and God knows what next to come. That appreciative and embracive soul that you have on how to accept always the new and always to use it as a tool to propagate you to the next phase of your life, and how to keep up the advocacy work to inspire many people around the world, in South Africa, in the US, in Europe, on how to face and overcome their darkest times, whether it is in diabetes or medical or mental health condition or any other personal situation that people are going through. I thank you for your time, for being with us. I personally learned a lot from you today, and I think I will include many values, many points that you inspired me today, and include it into my practice in the future on how I not only treat a patient, but also develop a relation of, a mutual overcoming a condition and addressing it and managing it. Thank you very much for all the inspiring messages, and I wish you all the best. And I hope to catch up with you again to learn more from your inspiring stories and, overcoming all these great challenges that you keep going through.
Tariq, I want to thank you. I feel honored to actually be on your program. And for me, it was another learning curve on just talking with you, So I want to thank you also, as a specialist in your field and learning from you, and you asking me these questions. And I feel honored that I could actually answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you very much. And for our listeners, as always, please stay curious, stay bold, and stay driven. I'm your host, Tariq Resat, signing off. And Mr. Saleh, you're officially scrubbed in. Thank you very much for your time with us today.